Good morning. Today I have a fun little experiment for us. As most of you probably know, last week I dropped the Germanium Doomsday pedal. And so today I'm going to do something I've always wanted to do, is we're going to put them to the test with temperature. Germanium transistors are temperature sensitive, right? So I'll show you the little rig I've got set up down here. So we have a heating pad, some ice packs. And just in case the heating pad isn't enough, I have a hair dryer over there. I've got my amp set up and cables all set up, ready to go. And I prepped this last night, so we're gonna head over to the fridge, and I've got a little surprise waiting for us in the fridge. Okay, there it is. So it's nice and cold. I can feel it. Cold to the touch. Let's bring it back and get it all rigged up, and we're going to record it cold back at room temperature, and then we're going to record it hot. So let's see. Excited to find out how it sounds. Okay, so I've got it all rigged up, sitting on the cold packs. I've set it to a very basic normal fuzz tone from what I remember, at least for when it's warm. And I'll keep it on the same settings for most of the video, just to compare the temperature. We don't really want to mess with the other controls. But I might try a couple of things with it just to see how it behaves at the different temperatures. Anyways, here's my clean tone. Let's turn it on. Okay, so right off the hop, I feel like it is a little bit noisier than when it's at room temperature. Let's hear how it sounds. Yeah, so it rips. It has a little more grit to it. It's a little nastier sounding right now. Not quite as smooth as when it's at the warmer temperatures. Yeah, I'm not sure why. It's like way noisier than normal. I'm gonna roll my guitar volume back just a bit to see how it cleans up now. So still kind of like an overdrive tone when the volume is turned down. Now what I do really want to find out is how this thing starts to squeal when it's cold, because it's really a noisemaker kind of pedal, right? You can turn that stability knob down and see it start to kind of freak out a little bit. And again, I'm really curious to see how it's going to sound. Okay, so something I just found out really interesting. It seems to behave differently when I'm touching the pedal. Like when I just touch the knobs, it sounds like the oscillations are changing. So what you heard there was it was ramping up and down, and then every time I touched it, it would drop down, and when I let go of the knob, it would ramp back up. So it's definitely doing some weird things when it's at this cold temperature. Still does all the crazy weird, you know, normal fuzz noises that it does. But yeah, it's sounding pretty cool. I'm gonna turn up the volume again and just play through it a little more. I've messed with the knobs and it's at a whole random setting now. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, so it's really gated and a lot quieter. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. Okay, so it still does that like warm tone thing when it's cold. I have the tone knob rolled all the way up, so it's got a lot of treble cut right now. The gate knob is quite high, and the stability knob is down a little bit, so it is kind of squealing a little bit when I'm not playing. But yeah, otherwise it sounds pretty rock solid even at this super cold temperatures. So I would be pretty confident playing this thing at an outdoor gig. It might not be like the same exact tone that you rehearse with, but it's gonna work. It'll do the trick for you for sure. So I think I'm gonna start the heating pad on. I'm gonna get it warming up. I'm gonna let it sit there a little bit just to like come back to room temperature, and I'll test it out one more time in a few minutes when I think it's kind of at a normal temperature again. So we'll see you guys in a split second after this cut. Okay, here we are with part 2 of our experiment. It's been about 10 minutes. I've topped up my coffee. It's nice and hot. The transistors are feeling like they're around room temperature. The heating pad is on its lowest setting right now just to kind of keep them warm-ish. I opened up the back of the pedal and I touched the transistors to see how they're feeling. They feel like they're pretty warm now, room temperature. Definitely not cold anymore. So let's turn it on, see how it sounds now. And again, I've dialed it right back to the original setting, so the same setting that we started with. Sorry, just had to turn it down a little bit. Okay, so it feels a little bit chewier, I guess, a little squishier. I don't know, I know those are super subjective words, but it's not quite as tight sounding. It's a little looser. The notes have a bit of like bloom to them. I'm not sure if you can really hear that in the recording. I'll have to have a listen to it later to see how it really sounds. That's the best way I can think of describing it. When you hit a note, it just kind of has a little bit of bloom. It doesn't feel as like tight and responsive. That's the only way I could really describe it. still tons of sustain, a little bit noisy, as I said earlier. And actually, I realized I did put the gain knob all the way up, and it is typically a little noisy when it has full gain. I'm not sure if it was actually noisier or not when it was colder. I think it's probably about the same now that I listen to it when it's warm again. But yeah, why don't I do it again? Same thing. I'm going to roll my volume knob down a little bit, see how it cleans up at the warmer temperature. I hope you guys aren't getting sick of me playing the same licks again. Just trying to show you a bit of a comparison. But yeah, it's still like a bit of an overdrive tone. And again, that's probably because the gain knob is turned all the way up. It does clean up quite a bit when the gain is turned down a little bit, right? Sounds quite nice though. Still really solid, reliable, I would say. Now, again, I'm going to mess with the settings a little bit, see how it sounds, show you some of the noises that it makes, right? So I'm going to turn down the stability knob. Interesting. So this time around, I find the gate knob isn't actually gating. Funny enough, I'm not sure how it sounds when I play through it. Maybe it is gating the tone, but it's not being a full noise gate. It's still like I dimed the gate knob, and it was still letting some noise through. So I had to turn up the compression knob to really close off the oscillations. So I can feel now that it is getting warmer. The heating pad is starting to heat it up. So I think we're past room temperature now. That's probably why it's starting to behave a little bit weird. But let's hear how it sounds at this setting now. I'll just play a little bit through it. So it is definitely still gating, but it has more sustain than it did earlier. And I think part of that is now that the transistors are warming up, it's going to start to have more gain, right? The temperature and gain relationship with germanium transistors is like higher temperatures is higher gain, but it also means that they'll have higher leakage, which usually means more noise and more of that kind of squishiness that I was describing earlier, where they start to fall apart a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to heat it up a little bit more. I'm going to let it sit on the heating pad on high, and we'll come back to it again in a couple of minutes when it's hot. Okay, so we're back for part 3 here. It's been sitting on the heating pad now on high for like 10 minutes. I don't think it's going to get any warmer. And it's still only kind of warm, and I really want to push it. I want to get it hot, like unreasonably hot, so that it's like you're playing on a hot summer day and it's got the sun beating on it all day long. See how it handles that sort of situation. Or even like unreasonably warm, like you're playing in a sauna or something and it's just too hot. So I am going to play it at this kind of warm temperature, and I'm going to use the hairdryer. I'm going to blow on it like directly on the transistors, get them really hot, and we'll hear how it sounds in that situation. So here's how it's sounding, just kind of warm. sounding pretty good. A little bit loose, you know, a little bit flubby, but let's heat it right up. I'm gonna get the hairdryer on it. So it's gonna start to sound really gated. The sustain is all gone, and it's really just it can't handle it. It's too hot. So it'll still kind of play a nice big chord, but I think it's already starting to cool down again. Yeah, so the sustain is back. I'm gonna heat it back up again, and then I'm gonna turn my volume knob down just to see how it'll clean up. It's probably not even gonna play anything when it's hot and I roll my volume down. Just if the volume's maxed out and it still can't sustain, I can't imagine that it'll play anything clean. So let's try it out. And there, it's already gone. It'll play full volume, but as soon as I roll my volume knob down a little bit, just nothing. So definitely no clean tones when it's too hot. Yeah. Now let's get into the last part here. I'm just going to turn down that stability knob and see if it'll squeal for us. And again, I have a feeling that it's probably just going to fall apart and like, it won't work as it should. It's just too hot. So I'm going to go ahead and turn down that stability knob. Yeah, we just have nothing happening at all here. And you know what? Now that I'm actually holding it, these transistors are really hot. Ooh. Don't try this at home. I would hate to see somebody damage their germanium transistors. As a pedal builder, I know what I'm doing here, and I know that I haven't pushed them too far. Okay, so the oscillations are back already. It's starting to cool down, so it'll do the scream and making noise for us. In general, it's a lot lower pitched and kind of gnarlier than it normally sounds. And again, I'm sure as it starts to cool down again, it'll get to that normal squealing sound that it does. Yeah, so it's behaving a little bit strange right now, right? It's not gonna be behaving properly. But again, I wish I had a temperature gun so I could measure the temperature here. I'm sure that that's just unreasonably hot. There's no way that it's gonna get that hot sitting on a stage in the sun. Like at first when I touched it, it was hot to the touch. Like I you know, I wasn't gonna burn myself on them, but pretty close. So I wouldn't worry about it falling apart completely on a hot stage. But it's definitely not going to sound the same when it's hot. And that's the important thing to learn from this here is that your germanium transistors are not going to sound the same when they're hot versus when they're cold.
I think what I've learned from this pedal today is that it tends to sound best in the colder temperatures. It still kind of handled the fridge temperatures really well. Sounded arguably better at room temperature though, I would say. And so for your average gig, as long as it's not like sweaty hot, this thing is gonna sound perfectly fine. It might start to sound a little bit gated or flubby when you're on a really hot stage in the sun. But otherwise, it's a really solid fuzz pedal at all the different temperatures, so that's great. Now, again, if you wanted to pick one of these up for yourself, you can get one in the link in the description on my website. You could message me directly on any of my socials. I have Facebook or Instagram at Get Wired Studios. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something like I did here. I'd really appreciate it if you give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel and all that. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, have a good one. Bye.